across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you for 3 compelling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. That's 0344 499 1000. Write it down. Or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It's Thursday, March the 20th. Here's what's coming up. First, stand by for shocking proof that this once great, fair-minded nation is descending into an abyss of two-tier Britain last madness. One man's harrowing story of how his life fell apart after he became the victim of extraordinary charges of Islamophobic racism. I think you'll agree that this poor guy, an eminently decent military veteran who served his country and who lost his job in a sinister saga that almost also cost him his marriage, did nothing wrong whatsoever. Stand by for that in just a few minutes. In other news, still with utter madness, cancer referrals have been missed and criminal records overlooked because biological sex has been erased from official data on health, crime and education. Bowing in terror to the trans lobby has turned this country into a dysfunctional basket case where fiction is prioritised over fact, with predictably disastrous results. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, the climate insanity continues apace as a secret Whitehall report predicts that crazy Ed Miliband's dash to net zero will crash the British economy. And why the hell is the deranged Mr. Miliband set to hire a chief executive for his bizarrely incomprehensible government company, GB Energy? No one knows what the hell it is. Guess how much this guy's going to earn? It's being advertised now. An obscene salary of £525,000 a year, 3 times more than the Prime Minister earns. What on earth will this grotesquely overpaid Mandarin do? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, still with madness, criminals remain free to pick their own gender after the gormless government refused to force police to record suspects' biological sex. What's going on? This is ridiculous. 0344 499 1000. Plus, call Dr. Renee tonight. GP Renee Hunderkamp in the studio answering all your medical questions. And royal expert Kinsey Schofield on the latest risible chapters in the Book of Meghan. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. Now, I'm going to set this up very quickly and then we're going to play you the interview. This is a brilliant story, very harrowing story that has been brought to us by our excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. She has interviewed a guy called Gary Costin, who worked for the Home Office deporting foreign criminals, until he was sacked for sharing a private WhatsApp group. In a private WhatsApp group, a headline about, it's just a newspaper headline sort of thing, about a Home Office Muslim staff organisation. After 15 years of unblemished service, escorting often dangerous migrants, murderers, rapists, drug dealers to high-risk countries like Somalia, Afghanistan, Cameroon, Sierra Leone. He used to volunteer for the dangerous trips. He's that kind of a guy. He was summarily dismissed after a whistleblower complained that his WhatsApp post, private WhatsApp group, by the way, spread hatred towards Muslims and was tantamount to bullying. Gary merely shared a tweet which suggested that a Home Office Islamic lobbying network was trying to influence policymakers. That's all he did. He didn't put any comment on it or anything. And he got sacked. He got sacked basically for racism. As he says, I've lost my confidence. All I want is to clear my name. He's 57 years old, served his country as a armourer for the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. I think he was served in Afghanistan, Iraq, places like that. Came back, got this job, helping the Home Office deport dangerous criminals, escorting them, keeping passengers safe, keeping everyone safe. Shared a tweet which was just a headline about a Home Office Muslim staff organisation which was allegedly trying to influence policy making to make sure that Muslim needs were served. You know, which is a bit off if there's civil servants there. Anyway, all Gary did was share this in the WhatsApp group. Oh, have a look at that. This is interesting. That was him. He didn't put anything on it. For that, he's been sacked for racism, Islamophobia, bullying. It's absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. The man has lost his life because of that. He's 57 years old, father of one, happily married. Obviously, he's been out of work now for a year. The marriage has been tested. He's not, I wouldn't put him so far as to be a broken man, but he's had a very harrowing time, and it's just not fair. It is typical of what's going on in this country right now. So without further ado, this is Isabel's interview with Gary Costin.
My name is Gary Costin. I'm a veteran of 23 years in the Army. I served all over the world on numerous operational tours. After leaving that, I then went to a firm that worked on a Home Office contract for deporting foreign national prisoners. I joined that in 2009 and served with them for 15 years.
So tell us a bit about the job that you were doing for the Home Office. You were working for a contractor to the Home Office, and your main job was helping with the deportation of foreign criminals?
My job was to remove foreign national prisoners out of the country, whether on scheduled flights or charter flights.
I mean, that's probably quite a tough job. You know, most people don't want to be removed. Did you enjoy the job?
It was challenging, and yes, I did enjoy it. I felt I was still serving my country.
You were actually involved in quite a high-profile and controversial deportation, weren't you, going back a few years? Talk to us about that. 2018,
around October. I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I say gentleman loosely. He was part of a gang rape group, and I was on a Turkish flight going to, or heading hopefully to Turkey and then on to Somalia. On the flight, as we restrained the gentleman, he started to scream and shout.
Where was this, in Heathrow?
This was in Heathrow, yes. And while that was happening, the whole back cabin decided to make a song and dance about things and film everything.
This was the ordinary passengers, because this, as you put it rather generously, gentleman, gang rapist, was being deported on a flight with ordinary passengers.
Correct.
At the back of the planes, kept separate, presumably.
Correct. There was a team of about 5 of us to deport him. He was in restraint. He started screaming, and passengers started to film, shout, "Get him off," and bits and pieces. We eventually, after talking to the captain, were told to remove him from the aircraft.
Why did they want to get him off? Was it because they were scared of him, or was it because they felt sorry for him?
They felt sorry for him, I think. It's all over YouTube. You can still Google it these days, and it's still there. So we took him off.
I mean, you can see you in that YouTube footage doing your job very well. You know, the passengers were all kicking off. You were very calm. You weren't able to tell them, were you, why he was being deported? That's against the rules. So they didn't know that the person that they were sympathetic to was actually a gang rapist.
It's one of the rules. It's their GDPR, so to speak, their personal, whatever anyone's done, we can't inform anybody. We've just got to get on with the job and we normally take the abuse more than they do, because we're not allowed to say what they've done, whether they're a rapist, whether they're a murderer, whether they're a drug dealer. We've just got to actually treat everyone the same and with respect and take them home.
In April last year, all of a sudden, you got suspended. Tell us why.
Correct. I was sent a WhatsApp post from a friend who was in the union and was one of my union reps, and basically I then shared it on a small group of colleagues, all of who I saw as friends, and posted it.
So this was a WhatsApp group, was it?
Correct, it was a WhatsApp group.
And how many people were in the WhatsApp group?
About 12 with myself.
Okay. And so you shared, it was a screenshot, was it?
Correct.
So just by way of background, at that time, in April last year, newspapers were running story about an Islamic network in the Home Office. And this was like a staff group, basically. It was sanctioned by the Home Office. And the story was that this Islamic network, that's what it was called, might not entirely have an agenda that aligns with government priorities. So people were asking questions, politicians were up in arms, and there was quite a fuss in the media about it. So the thing that you shared was simply a screenshot of a post on X by the journalist Stephen Edgington, who had broken this story, and he was just telling his ex-followers about what the story was. And there was also, in the same screenshot, there was some reaction from the then leader of the Reform Party, who was also saying, this is the news, I'm paraphrasing here, and I've got some questions about it. That was it. Correct. Okay.
The only thing on that screenshot was the person, whoever had sent it to me, I put a comment at the bottom of it, and that was it.
Right.
I never commented on anything. I just sent it as it was.
And what was the reason for sharing that?
Just general information. I felt that it actually was relevant to my colleagues.
And your department?
And my department, yes.
And just to explain, the WhatsApp group that you were in, it's an internal WhatsApp group, so it's not social media that is available to the wider public to see. It's a work WhatsApp group. Were you allowed to have a work WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Okay.
The people on there, we just used it generally for general information, whether there was traffic, whether things were running late, just if anyone had any incidents down route, to help avoid it and make our lives easier amongst ourselves.
And was it unusual to share a news story like that?
No, because before that there'd been a lot in the news about Rwanda, and we were sharing that quite regular between ourselves.
Because that affected your department?
Correct, and we weren't sure how many people we would be recruiting for, how many people we would be taking back, where we would be going. People were just sending information.
So this was about the Rwanda scheme that's now been abandoned?
Yes, it's now defunct. So that,
right.
But that was the last sort of thing other than what I posted on that was in the news that I know of.
So there was nothing unusual about sharing a news story, a headline that was relevant to the work of the Home Office. So
no.
Why do you think there was a problem with your post? I mean, what happened after you posted it? Did anyone in the WhatsApp group react? Did anyone say you shouldn't have posted it?
No one reacted whatsoever. Basically, and I still don't know how or why, but there was a whistleblower and they complained.
So what happened next?
Within, I think, 2 days of me actually posting it, I was called in the office, asked did I post this on the WhatsApp group, which, as I've always been open and honest, I said yes. I was then immediately suspended.
And you were suspended because someone had complained, or?
I was told that there'd been a whistleblowing complaint, and I was also told as I was leaving the building the reason they were suspending me there and then while they investigated was to help me with my mental health.
Gary Costin has posted a picture claiming that we are recruiting Muslims so the Muslims have their ideology spread. This is an insult to all my Muslim colleagues and unfair and bullying, as this is not the case. Sharing this post does nothing but spread hate towards our Muslim colleagues. I urge you all to look into this so we can leave the past behind us and move forward. Well, I look at what you shared, the screenshot, and I look at that complaint, and the two bear no resemblance to each other whatsoever. I am struggling to match up those two things. It's as if the person who has complained is complaining about something completely different. I must confess to being bewildered as to how that complaint can stem from your screenshot. Who did this mystery figure? Because you don't know who it is that complained.
Still don't know to this day.
This came like a bolt out of the blue. How did you feel when you got that? Initially, you were told you're in trouble.
When I was in trouble, I didn't feel that it was that serious, because all I was ever told as well was that I'd posted a WhatsApp post. That complaint itself, I didn't get until 6 months later, at the day of my disciplinary. As in the original complaint from the whistleblower. You didn't even get to see that complaint until the day of your hearing, as it were. Correct. Right. So initially you thought, well, surely this can't be that serious. It's a really kind of, frankly, not that exciting screenshot. I thought I'd just get a slap on the wrist, maybe a written warning, something like that, for just being silly, posting something that may be perceived to cause offence. But I didn't see it as that bad, and I didn't see that I would get sacked for it. So you had the main official hearing actually didn't happen until September, so many months after. And the outcome of that hearing was summary dismissal. And I've looked at the paperwork about that, because you shared that with me. And the reason that you were dismissed, and this is official from Mighty, the contractor to the Home Office, was because you sharing that screenshot with a very small group of colleagues had, and I quote, the potential to cause offence and bring the company into disrepute. That's what they said. Correct. Was the company mentioned in your screenshot? No, never. Okay. I've looked at the further documentation, and the company claims that the post was, and I'm quoting here, perceived as offensive and racist by others, in the plural. The problem was that it could have caused offence and that someone perceived that it was offensive. That's what they said. It was all about the perception. Correct. Somebody else's perception. How many people were offended, as far as you know? As far as I know, just the whistleblower, just one person, if they were actually offended. There's nothing out there that they were basically secretly sacking you for. It is all down to sharing this screenshot, for which they sacked somebody who had worked for this country, for the Home Office via a contractor, deporting foreign criminals, which is work that we really, really need done well. They sacked you. Yes. Summarily. It's now a year, near enough a year since all this happened. What has the last year been like for you? Nearly lost my marriage. I've lost my job. It's been hard. I had a decent car which I've had to sell to keep my head above water. I could have lost my home. It's just been difficult. I've managed to get a job in January, which I'll stay there for about a month, and then I've actually got a slightly better paid job starting last month.
What kind of job is that?
In security, but only because the gentleman that interviewed me was willing to actually listen to me, my integrity and honesty, because I said exactly why I was being dismissed. But for that reason also, I've probably not been given half a dozen jobs which I've applied for, because as soon as they see the post, everyone sort of goes, oh my God, and then doesn't want to hire me.
So they don't want to touch you because you were dismissed for sharing a screenshot?
Correct.
How do you feel now about the future?
It can only get better. Onwards and upwards, I've got to find some work. And whether it means I do this job that I'm with now for the next 4 or 5 years, because most jobs want 5 years employment history, then that's what I may do. But I don't want to go back to Mighty. All I want is my name cleared.
How old are you?
I'm 57.
So no thoughts of packing it in and doing something a bit more relaxing? You want to work, you love work,
Yeah.
I think.
I like the challenge.
So why have you decided to talk out about this then? What are you hoping to achieve?
To clear my name. And I don't want compensation. It would be nice, but I just want to clear my name. So when I go for a job, I don't have to worry about them asking me why I lost, because I believe it was unfair dismissal.
And I can ask again how you felt this last year with these accusations about what you did. How has that made you feel?
It's knocked my self-esteem. I did something in December which I would never have dreamt of doing. I went to the doctors for depression, and they gave me tablets. But as you can hear, I'm a stubborn northerner, and I refused to take the tablets in the end when I realised how long they would take to kick in. So I've just fought it with the help of my wife.
A spokeswoman from Mighty said, "We don't comment on individual cases."
When I'm talking to you right now, it's quite heavy air defense battle in Kiev with quite heavy explosions, meaning that Russia continue to attack big Ukrainian cities every night. It is happening non-stop for many months. So they are attacking us with kamikaze drones, and to remind you, each Russian kamikaze drones is from 60 to 80 kilograms of explosive materials, and drones like that can destroy a private house easily.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's go straight over to our international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, what a harrowing story. I think we have to point out this is based that his original post into that private WhatsApp group where he thought it was a group of friends, his colleagues at work, he posted a tweet by Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, who of course is your partner. But his only comment at the bottom of this, Richard posted, large Islamic network inside Home Office now suspended, appears to have been deliberately undermining government policy. How many other departments have similar problems? Answers needed urgently. Possible national security issues here. And another tweet beneath that, not linked to Richard Tice, guy called Steve Edgington, said leaked docs show Home Office Islamic networks say they aim to recruit Muslim staff to influence policymakers to support Muslim needs. So that was a worrying situation that, thank God, got onto the social media. Gary saw that, shared it with his friends, just put underneath it, oh, that was all it is. And yet he was sacked on the basis that he tweeted something, or that he posted something entirely different. That he posted, that he wrote underneath that tweet to his mates, "We are recruiting Muslims so the Muslims can have their ideology spread." He didn't tweet this. This guy has basically had his life ruined because some whistleblower said he was sort of Islamophobic, spreading racism and hatred and bullying, when he didn't do that. And this is a man who served his country, who served this company, Mighty, quite bravely, obviously. Just want to put it in his context. He was a former armourer in the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. And for this company, he he used to volunteer for the difficult jobs, escorting dangerous migrants like murderers, rapists, drugs dealers to high-risk countries like Somalia, Afghanistan, Cameroon and Sierra Leone. And he has been summarily dismissed, a year ago now, of course, and more than that, for something he didn't do. This is outrageous.
Is an extraordinary story, Kev, and I found it quite difficult just listening to him again, because before me, when I interviewed him in London earlier this week, was a man who was almost a broken man. This is
you could see that, Isabel.
He's a great big physical presence. He describes himself as a gentle giant, and actually you can see him if you look on YouTube. You can find a video featuring Gary of that incident that he described, in which he was caught up in a kind of passenger revolt of passengers who didn't want the deportation of a gang rapist. And poor old Gary had to handle this, you know, with all the passengers kicking off and saying, don't deport him and so on. And you can see him doing his job brilliantly. He has had no disciplinary complaints or anything throughout his years of fine service for our country. He left the armed forces with a medal for good service and long service, and yet this man's life has been ruined as a result of sharing a screenshot of some factual information, a news headline coupled with a comment by my partner Richard Tice. He has nothing to do with Richard Tice. He's a sort of bit part in this.
Yeah.
This is about the hopeless lack of judgment on the part of bosses at Mighty, who, by the way, have come up with absolutely no excuse for what they've done. They simply have said, we can't comment on this. Well, I'd love to hear it if they had an excuse, if they had a proper reason. Complete hopeless lack of judgment by them. They're running scared
of an anonymous individual who entirely baselessly
lied. This individual, the whistleblower, lied, and the company only had to check the WhatsApp group to see that that was a lie. Gary apologised for any offence caused, but his apologies were dismissed as irrelevant by mighty bosses, who declared that what mattered was that sharing this image of the tweet could be perceived, this I'm quoting now, perceived as offensive and racist by others. That's it. Now, this feeds into this mania that modern Britain has, this sheer paranoia about the spectre of racism, the suggestion, even the vague suggestion of racism or Islamophobia. Corporations, companies, organisations, the government, ministries, they just lose their minds, and this is just entirely wrong.
They quite literally seem to have been incapable, too ignorant, too stupid, or too frightened to exercise what we always talk about on Talk, which is common sense. Is Gary a racist?
No.
No. There is no evidence of that. Is he anti-Islamic? No. There is no evidence of that. This is a man who went on holiday to Qatar, by the way. This is a man who volunteered repeatedly to escort foreign criminals to difficult, tough, and frankly, largely Muslim places. So there's no evidence of that either. Is there evidence of bullying? None whatsoever. Is there evidence that Gary Costin did a brilliant job year after year after year? Yes. So where is the case for dismissing such an individual? There isn't one.
Yeah.
And what this says about our society is that certain communities are getting very, very, very special treatment, and certain people in positions of power are too frightened or stupid to exercise discretion when people from those communities make entirely baseless complaints. And I feel so strongly about this story.
I do too.
Gary Costin did not deserve what happened to him. He is a highly skilled, experienced man in work that we need. We need people who are prepared to do that rough work of deporting foreign criminals, and yet he's had his life ruined.
Yeah.
So I really hope that somehow or other, by bringing this story to light, first of all, we can help clear Gary's name, and secondly, that this puts him on a path to a better future, because this man did not deserve the treatment he was given by Mighty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I say that Mighty were just terrified. I mean, I'm sure that there are intelligent people who work at Mighty, the intelligent people who investigated this complaint. They would have seen, in my view, that it was total rubbish, but they are terrified, or they were terrified. This is my speculation, my suggestion, but I think I'm right. They were terrified that if they didn't act like this unreasonably and sack Gary, that this whistleblower might go public and say Mighty is an Islamophobic company that doesn't treat Muslims well. That's what they're scared of. And apropos of nothing, don't forget this sort of unfolded, this unfolds under various governments who are terrified of the same kind of thing. I just thought I'd play you the Deputy Prime Minister's latest post on social media. Have a look at this.
Muslim Heritage Month is a great opportunity to recognise the immense contributions Muslims have made and continue to make to British society. I want to thank the Muslim Women's Network UK for leading on this important work. Muslims have been a part of Britain for centuries, from the early sailors and traders of Assam, Bengal and Yemen, to the growing port cities communities of East London, Liverpool and South Shields in the early 20th century.
And completely coincidentally, Angela Rayner represents the constituency of Ashton-under-Lyne up in the north, where many of her constituents are Muslims, and without the Muslim vote she would lose her seat. And without the Muslim vote, it's very unlikely that Labour would stay being the government after the next election. This is the culture that is unfolding. It is this terror of the noise the Muslim community might make if we don't bow down to them in every single way. And when I say Muslim community, I don't mean all of them. I mean the noisy extremists. You know what I'm talking about. This is a really bad cultural problem we've got here.
I think that's right, Kevin. I think it's really important to say that no one on Talk, least of all me, because I literally spend a great deal of time in a wonderful Muslim country. No one on Talk Radio has a problem with Muslims. No one is Islamophobic. No one doesn't want to honour what Muslims contribute to our society in the UK. But what we cannot have is contractors for the Home Office running scared of a single individual who anonymously makes a baseless complaint, and for that someone gets hung out to dry. That can't be right. And you said what they were afraid of would be this individual going public. Well, they shouldn't have been afraid of that, because this individual, this anonymous person who
was lying. He was lying. He or she was lying, you know.
Well, he or she had misunderstood. They had nothing to complain about. So companies have got to find a backbone on this stuff. We need to know who we are. We have our identity. We have our values, and they should not include kind of persecuting people for sharing entirely factual stuff which may have been relevant to the work that he was doing.
Yeah, too much. We're in the age of the accusation now, and too many corporations, organisations, government ministries. If somebody accuses someone of racism or Islamophobia, that's good enough. You're finished. No investigation. They're too terrified of the whole spectre of the words racism and Islamophobia, and that is what has cost Gary his job, his confidence, almost cost him his marriage. I feel very, very sorry for the guy. I hope he rebuilds his life properly, this sort of nonsense just has to stop. We better go to break now. There's a couple of other stories I need to talk to you about, Isabel, so stay tuned, everyone.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. A couple of other important stories got to kind of basically rush through now, Isabel. But first up, this extraordinary situation where a review commissioned by the last Tory government, who were clearly worried, they essentially commissioned a review into the ludicrous shambles they were presiding over. This review by a University College London professor, Alice Sullivan, has found that cancer referrals have been missed, criminal records overlooked, schools have suffered problems because biological sex has been erased from official data on health, crime and education. Alice Sullivan suggested that now, because of gender, gender madness, gender and sex are being conflated, and that the government should, with a sense of urgency, investigate just how much its operations in terms of statistics are being affected by impartiality and activism. In other words, what we're talking about here is bowing in terror to the trans lobby has turned this country into a dysfunctional basket case that records fiction and not fact, prioritises fiction over fact. Not what sex are you, never mind that important information. What would you like to identify as? Oh, I'd like to identify as a woman, even if you're a bloke. That has been recorded in official records. Cancer referrals are being missed, ergo lives are being lost, and criminals are walking free because no one can get hold of their criminal records. This is just, it's just off the scale insane, isn't it?
What it is very, very self-harming. And it's actually a sort of an angle of the story I hadn't really given much thought to. But when you reflect on it, it's really serious. You know, if the NHS or other institutions are not making it clear that you were born a woman and that is what you are chromosomally, then will they chase you up, for example, for cervical smear tests? That kind of screening? What about mammograms? You know, there are certain checks, prostate checks for men, which are linked to what sex you are, the organs that you were naturally born with, and those are going to get very, very muddled up, aren't they? If your records no longer basically tell the truth, the absolute undeniable fact about how you were born. And it's not really doing anyone any favours to try to deny or cover up or mask that. As these statistics are showing and these reports are showing, we are actually missing vital signs that someone may be developing a potentially fatal disease. Yeah. So this is completely mad. And on the criminal side of it, the idea that rapists and violent attackers and frankly anyone should be able to just pick and choose from a basket of potential
what they fancy being. I mean, do you know the trouble with this, to sort of summarise, there are 262,000 trans people in Britain and 70 million people living here. So out of 70 million people, there are 262,000 people whom we should give all the respect they deserve. But out of those 262,000, and it's only a few of them, there are these noisy activists. And it is in terror of these noisy activists that we have turned this country into a madhouse. You know, where men, 70-year-old men, have to tell doctors whether or not they're pregnant before they can get an X-ray. This is all because of a few noisy trans activists. Now, good for them. I hope they have all the rights they fully deserve. And I really hope they just live their lives happily in exactly the way that they want to. Nothing against them at all, but we've got to stop bowing to the shouting of 0.5% of the population, because it is ruining the lives of the rest of the population. This is just absurd, ludicrous and mad.
Totally possible to be respectful of people's private choices about the way in which they choose to lead their lives, live their lives, who they choose to love. I don't care, but I do care if entire public policies, the whole way governments and our public institutions operate, is skewed around this very fringe group. And, you know, sure that some of them are shouting loudly because they feel very, very marginalized and they feel that they're not getting what they need. And as you said, we should give them what they need to live the way they want to live without making everybody else pay a price for it. That can't be right.
Yeah. Here's an idea. When people are going for an X-ray, the NHS devises some kind of instruction. If you're a trans man, you know, a kind of former woman or a biological woman, but you're a trans man, you tell the X-ray. If you're a trans woman, former man, you know, you tell the X-rayer, and then leave everyone else alone. Leave the 99.999% of people who go in there who are not trans. It's just absurd. This country is being turned into, as I said, a basket case on the altar of a few very noisy activists that for some reason the entire body politic seems to be terrified of. And we've got to do something about it. Talking of insanity, next up, Isabel, we're going to talk about crazy Ed Miliband, the Net Zero Secretary. I've got some information that is going to make your hair curl. It really will. That next, stay tuned.
When I'm talking to you right now, it's quite heavy air defense battle in Kiev with quite heavy explosions, meaning that Russia continue to attack big Ukrainian cities every night. It is happening non-stop for many, many, many months. So they are attacking us with kamikaze drones. And to remind you, each Russian kamikaze drones is from 60 to 80 kilograms of explosive materials, and drones like that can destroy a private house easily.
Across the UK, on DAB+, On your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Very quickly, Isabel, you like this one. You probably picked up on the story that secret Whitehall documents have leaked to The Sun, to Harry Cole, who was on Talk just before me. This is a prediction to the government, that crazy Ed Miliband's mad dash to net zero will crash the economy and destroy hundreds of billions of pounds worth of existing assets as they are written off as obsolete kind of early in our new green paradise. So if you take a kind of, we haven't got any coal-fueled power stations left, but for example, you take a power station that we, like Drax, that we recently changed from a sensible gas power station to a sort of madhouse wood chip station. In other words, decommissioning it while it was still perfectly viable, and therefore you lose the value of it. So loads and loads of existing perfectly functional assets will be destroyed because it's like, oh no, that doesn't fit in with net zero, it's got to go. So they literally say this will seriously crash the British economy, not to mention the world economy. Financial analysts McKinsey were commissioned by Whitehall to have a look into this, and they say the abrupt transition to net zero being manically pushed by that dangerous, deranged fool Miliband will have catastrophic consequences. Hardly surprising, but this is what I wanted. So that much we knew. And if the government doesn't wake up to this, if the government doesn't wake up, if Starmer doesn't wake up to the fact that this Miliband guy is just mad and very, very dangerous to this country, he will not be Prime Minister again if he carries on employing Ed Miliband. There may be a lot of other reasons he won't be Prime Minister again, but Ed Miliband's going to really screw it for him. Because if nothing else, Ed Miliband is responsible for us having, by far and away, the highest energy prices in the world. Thank you very much. Anyway, this is what you're like. So you know his stupid, incomprehensible company, Great British Energy, you know, the company that no one can work out what the hell it is.
I mean, I know it, but I've no idea what it does.
Well, join the club. Join the club. No one knows what it is. It's something to do with net zero. Anyway, Ed is now advertising for the chief executive of this organisation. You know, he's effectively going to be the nation's net zero czar. Guess what the salary for the boss of the incomprehensible, mad GB Energy company is going to earn? Guess what his salary is.
I'm going to guess it's definitely a
six figure. It's £525,000 a year, 3 times more than the Prime Minister earns.
Well, it's about what people feel their energy bills is, isn't it? I mean,
what do you think? What do you make of that?
What I make of that is it is an absolutely stupid thing for the government to be doing, because they are going to be dogged by that salary again and again and again and again. I sometimes just can't believe who's advising these muppets in Downing Street. You would think that they would see the PR problem attached to putting a salary like that on the job. You know, how about you just get a panel of experts who are prepared to do it for, you know, their train ticket and some expenses, and then you won't have yet more presentational problems with this complete fiction of an organisation, if that's what it's supposed to be, that doesn't seem to be doing anything except talking hot air. None of our bills are coming down. They're not going to come down anytime soon, not just because we're tearing up a bunch of infrastructure that could still be productive, but also because we are completely and woefully failing to make use of new assets, new resources that we could be exploring, for example, shale gas.
Indeed, yeah. So Great British Energy, as things stand, if they do hire this £525,000 energy czar, the chief executive, he'll be their first employee. Ed Miliband says something like 650,000 jobs. Doing what? What are they going to do? What does this company do? But this is what Ed Miliband is looking for. This is what is quoted in Ed's advert, his position vacant advert, his vacancy advert, right? An inspirational leader with extensive board-level experience who is adept at shaping and delivering strategic vision with a demonstrable vision for and commitment to making Great British Energy an integral part of the Aberdeen and UK energy sector community.
What does any of that mean?
I don't know.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
I mean, again, who are the PR people who are advising on this? You know, guys, write in English. Tell us something we can understand.
And don't pay this guy £500,000 a year. It's grotesque. It's obscene. 3 times more than the Prime Minister earns. What is Miliband thinking? I'll tell you, Miliband is an endangered species. He will be the first from this cabinet to go because, as we've noted over the past couple of weeks, I'm still no fan of Mr Starmer, but he has somewhat collided with the reality. You know, he's not spaffing so much on foreign aid. He's ploughing it into defence. He's getting kind of real on foreign policy. And when he gets even more kind of real, he will get rid of this deranged maniac Miliband.
Well, I mean, I'm generally very in favour of endangered species. I can't really think of a single endangered species that I wouldn't want to save, apart from Mr Miliband, who is, as you say, endangering our country with his crazed zealot policies, which are just undermining everything that people need right now. People need lower cost energy. This is not going to produce that anytime soon. And you say that, I think you're giving great credit to the Prime Minister, saying that he seems to be coming to his senses and, you know, spending less on foreign aid. But what have we seen lately? We've seen Angela Rayner trotting around Ethiopia, visiting the Ethiopian Stock Exchange. I kid you not. Why?
Well, because of the same thing when we just played her talking about Islam month. You know, I mean, you know, it's the same kind of reason, just sucking up to Muslims, because if she doesn't get the Muslim vote, she loses her constituency, and if Labour don't get the Muslim vote, they lose the country. So that's what's going on there. Isabel, what a fantastic hour. Thank you very much for bringing the story of Gary Costin to us, and you'll be back next week. So Isabel Oakeshott there, Talks International editor. When we come back, it's Dr. René Hoenderkamp, GP extraordinaire, in the studio answering all your medical problems. So if you have any health issues, troubles with the NHS, can't get to see your GP, give us a ring. Call Dr. René on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Very keen to hear from you about the story that Isabel Oakeshott just brought us, the harrowing story of Gary Costin, a military hero who served his country and then served his country more by helping the Home Office to deport dangerous criminals to high-risk countries. Summarily sacked for sharing in a WhatsApp group a post on Twitter suggesting that there may be a Muslim group within the Home Office working to influence policy to help Muslims, you know, to serve Muslims' needs. That would be worrying. So Gary shared that with a few of his mates, that, you know, look at this, we work for the Home Office, that's interesting, isn't it? He got sacked for that because they said it was Islamophobic, racist, and he was bullying, because a whistleblower complained. He didn't. It's not Islamophobic. It's not a racist. Didn't post anything Islamophobic or racist. I just think this is this obsession this country has got with racism. This mere spectre of racism or Islamophobia. You're sacked. Get out. Oh no, we're terrified. And that terror of being accused of racism is prioritised over common sense and decency. This country is two-tier. I mean, if he had said, oh, there's a bunch of Christians in the Home Office causing trouble, he'd have been fine. But because he says it's Muslim, or because the tweet said it's Muslims, that's why he's in trouble. This is two-tier Britain. Britain last. That's what this is all about. Let me know what you think. 03444 499 1000, or send me a text, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note, same number, 03444 499 1000. Anyway, the surgery's almost over. Dr. René Hundekamp, GP extraordinaire, is in the studio. Welcome, René.
Hello.
But before we get to the patients, the people who are calling in with their problems, we like to cover a couple of medically based stories. And this one, of course, is the big story of the day in many ways. I've just discussed it with Isabel Oakeshott, but your input will be invaluable. It is this extraordinary story that data, official data on crime, health and education has been lacking biological sex details. That biological sex has been replaced by gender identity. What would you like to be identified as? Now, you know, that's all right in some areas of the of life, but when it comes to medical, cancer, in criminal, it's not all right, is it? I mean, not saying what sex someone is, you know, in terms of the NHS, I mean, that could cost lives. I think is costing lives. So what about this madness, René?
Look, we've been saying for a long time, Kev, that in terms of health, there is only one physiological aspect of your body that counts. It's not your feelings and whether you feel that you're a man or feel that you're a woman. It's what your chromosomes dictated that you were when you were conceived. And this is the most important thing that we can have in medicine, to know what we're looking for and what we're treating. The problem here is that firstly, it's dangerous to the people who are trans men or trans women, because if you're suddenly a trans man but you don't get called for your cervical screening or your breast screening, you're putting yourself at risk of cancer. Now, there's a big grey area over who's responsible for that. Is it my responsibility as a GP to make sure that I chase you up years down the line? Apparently it probably is. Or is it your responsibility as someone who knows that they're a woman but living as a man to come forward and ask for the screening? But if you've been erased from the system as a woman, you will not be picked up. Then there's the other issue of safety, because then of course we end up with men on female wards, and there was that bizarre case where a woman was raped on a female ward by a fellow patient, and she was told that no rape had occurred because there were no men on the ward. There was a man on the ward, but he was in the records as being a woman. And so it's dangerous, but I actually think it has even more far-reaching issues. Say that you're a paedophile, Kev, and you want to have access to young girls. It's much easier for you.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this conversation.
And it's much easier for you to get that privileged contact by suddenly declaring yourself a woman, having all of your records in the past removed, and suddenly you can go on a school camping trip with young women and sleep in the vicinity. Yeah. There are so many implications of this. And then how do we plan in the future our health services if we really and truly don't know who's getting sick with what sex is getting sicker with what, and how many of each there are?
Now, this was a review actually commissioned by the last Tory government who began to fear that they were presiding over a kind of gender-mad shambles, which indeed they were. The current government, folks, rest assured, is still presiding over a gender-insane shambles, you know, where crooks can pick and choose what gender they want to be. The government actually told the police, you've got to stop doing this. You have to record what their biological sex is, but the police don't like to do that because the police are right on and woke these days.
The police have been completely captured by Stonewall.
Yeah. This study was carried out by University College London Professor Alice Sullivan, who discovered inconsistencies in the way that sex and gender were being recorded, often conflating the two, and really, really worrying. The professor concluded that the revered Office for National Statistics has radically changed how it views sex in terms of data collection, and Alice recommended that it reviewed how its operations are affected by impartiality and activism. And what that means is that even at the ONS, they're worried about the trans lobby. Our official people who record important data are basically bowing to the trans lobby and prioritising, if you like, fiction over fact. You know, because if a bloke puts on a form, you know, I'm basically female, that's a fiction.
Of course it's
and
fiction.
That's going into official data.
It's a delusion.
Yeah.
But you know what tells you that everything you need to know, Kevin, is that when the government were approached last night about committing to this report, they actually said that the report would be sent to departments to be considered alongside the views...
Considered, acted on.
No, but even more important, alongside the views of other interested parties. And by that, they mean the trans lobby. The government have had committees talking about women's rights issues with no actual women on it, just trans men.
It's mad. I mean, so the same report includes the fact that criminals remain free to pick their gender. So if they get arrested, I don't know, for rape, they could say I'm a woman.
And then
the police will record them as being a woman, and then you end up with those court cases that she attacked her victim with her penis. This insanity should be wiped out of our culture. It's just so insultingly mad, and the government is refusing to tell police forces to record biological sex.
Well, this is why...
Where are we going to be if we don't do this?
Well, I'll tell you where we need to be. We need to repeal the Gender Recognition Act, and we need to repeal the Equality Act as well, because it's the Equality Act that has allowed these people to claim their right as feeling like a woman or a man is tantamount to, you know, all of the other being black or being disabled. We need to repeal them both.
You know, the thing about gender, the word gender, you know, Alice Sullivan is saying, the problem is that too many actual officials who are in charge of statistics are conflating. Or we almost as a nation now, we conflate sex and gender. So if you get a trans person who says, I identify as a female, a lot of officials, the NHS and stuff, will write them down as a biological female. Well, they're not. They're not. This is that all revolves around the hijacking of the word gender. The word gender means the same as biological sex.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, well, it still does, actually, except that the trans lobby has decided to change the meaning. Oh, you mean biological sex? Gender's a different thing. It's actually not. But, of course, they now say gender is 107 genders, you know. You can be a neutroid or whatever they are, all these ridiculous 100. There aren't 107 genders. There are 2. Male and female, and there's that intersex thing to be. You always to say that there are people who are sort of born between the two. So if I'm going to be very, very generous, I'll say there are 3 genders: male, female, and intersex.
Which is minute.
Which is a minute number of people, but I'm being almost studiously too fair here. There are not 107 genders. There are not 4 genders. There are not 5 genders. There are not 50 genders. That is a load of made-up claptrap, right?
Right, but the problem is this theory that they have that you are what you feel you are only.
No, you're not.
Right, it only applies to them in their little world about men and women. It doesn't apply to the fact that if I suddenly decide today that I am disabled, I won't be allowed to go into the Paralympics next year. They won't let me. But if I decide I'm a man, I'll be allowed into a man's toilet. Not that I would want to because they smell.
Yeah, they're worse than that. Worse than that. Yeah. All these women, these trans men, want to use men's loos. I was going, you sure about that? You sure about that? At the point you want to go into a man's loo, I suggest you sort of transition back to your biological sex and go and use the ladies. Don't go into a men's loo, really don't. She says that there seems to be a legal fiction that public bodies cannot collect data on sex. This report should show that they can collect data on sex. She said that ministers, that the government should consider, this is a quote, should consider the vulnerability of government and public bodies to internal activism. That means activists within the government, within the civil service, that seeks to influence outward-facing policies. So what we stopped doing is we stopped recording fact and we've started recording fiction to keep the trans lobby happy.
Well, they are vicious, Kevin. They are absolutely...
Only a small amount of them, but they're noisy. They're noisy.
And they can be vicious too.
Yeah, I don't think... we've got to be careful here. There's 262,000 for trans people in this country out of a population of 70 million, something like 0.5% of the population. It'd be very unfair to say they're all vicious and noisy activists.
The trans lobby.
But the trans lobby is certainly noisy and I think hideously, disproportionately powerful. If they say jump, the government says how high. It's got to stop.
I don't see it stopping under this government in any way, shape or form. And the problem is, Kevin, that all of these schools now have been indoctrinated, so the universities are indoctrinated. All these kids are going to churn out at the other end, believing this claptrap that you can magic your mind into being a different sex.
Yeah, and if you look, as I said to Isabel Oakeshott, if you trans people, I hope they're very happy. I hope they live their life exactly how they want to. As long as my view on life generally is, if people aren't harming anyone else, you live your life exactly how you want to, exactly what makes you happy, and that kind of will make me happy. But don't start telling me that I have to believe that a trans woman is a woman, because a trans woman is a man. It's as simple as that. That biologically a trans woman is not a woman. So don't tell me to swallow a lie. And the problem is that our officials, the ONS, our government departments, our government itself are swallowing this lie and revolving around it. And now criminals, rapists, are telling coppers, I'm a woman. And the coppers go, oh, fair enough.
You know why, though? So I had lunch with a policewoman, a young policewoman in her late 20s, and we were talking about this issue. And at one point, she leant over and she said to me, oh, but don't you think it's just wonderful now that a child that's been born in the wrong body can come forward and say so? And I just looked and I said, no child is born in the wrong body. I said, you have swallowed the training. Who did your training? Oh, I don't know. I said, perhaps you should find out where your training come from, and I can promise you it will go all the way back at some point to Stonewall. They have captured these institutions. They have relied on women wanting to be kind, like that policewoman, where she says, isn't it lovely that children trapped in the wrong body can come forward? They rely on women. And that's why so many women have gone along with this, to be kind.
Well, it's not, but it is turning this country into this is dangerous.
Yes.
You know, cancer referrals are not being made because of this nonsense. You know, when doctors don't really know who they're dealing with, is this a male or is this a female? When they can't trust the data, that's a danger to life, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, a man comes into A&E with abdominal pain. If that were a woman, or abdominal bloating, if that were a woman of a certain age, it's ovarian cancer until we rule it out. But if it's a man, we're not looking for ovarian cancer.
Exactly right. I like this idea, you know, this absurdity, and this is the most egregious example of bowing and scraping to the trans lobby and their absurd demands that everybody, all blokes, who go in to get an x-ray at the NHS are asked, are you pregnant? 70-year-old fat guys with beards. Are you pregnant? Well, funnily enough, I'm not. You know.
I wish I was.
So everybody, wouldn't it be a better idea if the staff, if you know, women came in, you know, if the staff said, oh, before your x-ray, or a trans woman came in, or all of them, by the way, blokes, they said, you're not by any chance trans, are you? Something like that. That would be a bit more sensible, wouldn't it?
Oh, I mean, but that could be, you know, that could be insulting to people as well. Because what if you're a woman who...
No, but but x-ray wise, that would be to a bloke, wouldn't it?
No, it would be to a woman.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I see.
But,
yeah,
say you are a woman.
It's not. It wouldn't be insulting to me if they said you're not by any chance trans.
Yes, but if you're a woman who was a man and you get asked, you've got to ask both sexes. Of course you have.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you just have on a form that they can fill out? They don't have to say.
Are you trans?
No. What is your biological sex? That's the answer.
Yeah, but then they'll lie, won't they?
Well, then that's their fault. I'm sorry. Then it's their problem.
But honestly, because of this, because of a few noisy trans activists, this country has descended into an abyss of utterly deranged insanity. You can't overstate it, can you?
You can't, but we're not alone. Australia is as woke as us now as well.
Well, that doesn't make me feel any better.
but what I mean is, it's not just us. It's a poison across the West. And the only person now who's got the kahunas to deal with it is Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Come on over here, Donald, sort this country out. We better go to break. When we come back, the surgery will be open, so phone in with your medical problems. Dr. Renee is here to help. Call her on 0344 499 1000. That next, stay tuned.
When I'm talking to you right now, it's quite heavy air defense battle in Kiev with quite heavy explosions, meaning that Russia continue to attack big Ukrainian cities every night. It is happening non-stop for many, many, many months. So they are attacking us with kamikaze drones. And to remind you, each Russian kamikaze drones is from 60 to 80 kilograms of explosive materials, and drones like that can destroy a private house easily.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So I was just making a joke to Dr. Renee there. Now, the surgery's open. Call us in with all your medical problems, 0344 499 1000. Let's go straight to our first caller. She's from Devon, and her name is Louise. Welcome, Louise. Talk to the doctor.
Hi, Louise. How can I help?
Hi, Dr. Renee. Yeah, I'm calling about my son. He's 19 years old, and his eyebrow over about the last year has turned white, just the one eyebrow. It's more or less completely white now. The other one's fine. I suggested he go to the doctors. They kind of dismissed him and made him feel a little bit embarrassed, so, like, for going. And I just wondered what your thoughts were on it, really.
So my immediate thought is that it's absolutely nothing to worry about, and it really is just one of those fluke things where he's just lost pigment, as if he would go grey, but it's just happened there, and it can happen. But I think I'd probably just wanting to see a dermatologist just in case there was something else going on, because a thorough dermatologist, and I know this from one of our children who had sort of a birthmark that you couldn't see very much, but a thorough dermatologist would actually do a scan to make sure there was nothing underneath it, do some blood to make sure there wasn't an autoimmune condition going on. I think probably there isn't, to just reassure you, because I can hear how worried you are, but I don't think it would hurt to just get some follow through and make sure.
Okay. That's brilliant, thank you.
All right, Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
Take care.
That's unusual.
Very unusual.
What would that be?
No, so I think it probably is just he's gone, as if he would go grey on his head, that he has just on an eyebrow. But I would want to make sure there wasn't an autoimmune, you know all about those autoimmune conditions that spring up, or anything else underlying the skin there.
Okay. I hope he dies it, though, you know, going around with one.
Oh, it's quite... You know, did you ever
unusual?
Did you ever have those kids at school? I had one, I remember, his name was Jed, actually, that had one bit of white hair in a streak.
They were always called Badger, weren't
just
they?
a complete loss of pigment in that area.
Yeah, interesting. What have we got there? Yeah, plenty of time. Let's go to... oh my God! It's our friend Cindy in Michigan. Hi, Cindy. Long time.
Hi. Yes. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm okay. Let's not waste any time, though. Talk to the doctor.
Hi, Cindy.
Okay. Hi. I want to say Dr. Bull's show is not the same without you. I miss you.
Kevin's got me now.
Yeah, exactly. Never mind, Bull.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
I don't want to waste your time, so I'll be really quick with my questions. Okay. First of all, I have hypertrophy. It's a heart condition.
Yes.
And my doctor wants to check my B as in boy, M as in Mike, P as in Paul levels. What is that about?
I can't hear what is it? I don't quite understand what you're saying. I understand you have hypertrophy of your heart, so you've got parts of your heart which are bigger than they should be.
Mm-hmm. And he wants to check my BNP levels.
BNP. Sorry, it took me a minute there, Cindy. So BNP level. Okay,
Isn't that an extreme right-wing party?
We used to be an extreme right-wing party, but it's brain nature something. Oh God. anyway, its brain is the first bit, then it's NP, and it's a hormone that comes from the heart if it's under stress. So if levels of that, for example, if I tested someone's today and they were above 400, that would be a good indicator that they had a degree of heart failure going on. But also, conversely, it's a really reassuring test, because if it's under that level, then heart failure is really unlikely.
Okay, and my last question is, I'm a liver transplant patient, and I just wanted to know, it just popped in my head, how long does a liver last?
So,
generally speaking,
I think livers last a long time, Cindy. Of all the organs that we transplant, so for example, lungs start dying the moment they go in and don't have, have about 10 years. Heart transplants now will last longer, but used to be 10 years, but now a bit long with all of the anti-rejection drugs. But livers are really the most resilient organs. They're the only organ in the body that can actually regenerate themselves. So livers can last a long, long time.
Okay, and because I take anti-rejection medication for my liver,
of course,
it's affecting my kidneys, and I could go into kidney failure. The doctor says to drink a lot of water, but I've been hospitalized before by drinking too much water.
Yeah, don't drink too much water. And as well, don't forget, the more water you drink, and I don't mean normal amounts, but if you overdo it, you then put a strain on your heart as well.
I drink 2 liters a day.
That's fine.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
That's fine. Okay.
I drink 2 litres a day as well, Cindy, but not water.
Give me some.
No.
Invite me.
Yeah. We'll go out and drink 2 litres together very, very soon. Cindy, good to hear from you again. Keep in touch. All the best.
Thanks for the call, Cindy.
Cindy in Michigan. She's a regular caller. I have my audience is global, Let's go to Mark in Lincolnshire, whose cat has cut his eyelid. Mark, talk to the doctor.
Are we talking about the cat's eyelid, Mark, or your eyelid?
Mine. So much mine. I was actually going to say, if Kev takes a look at his Twitter, I sent a picture of it, which might help you.
Okay, all right. Well, you two talk. I'll find it.
No problem.
So, when was this, Mark? When did it happen?
About 7:30 this morning. Basically, that's how he woke me up.
Well, it's a rude awakening, right?
Yeah, hell of a rude awakening. He kind of walked across my face to wake me up. That woke me up, startled. Obviously didn't know what the hell was on my face, so I just swiped it off.
Is the cat still alive?
Yeah, it's still alive.
So.
Good. No animals were hurt.
I mean, to be honest with you, this same cat put me in hospital for 4 days when he bit my finger when he was a kitten.
What?
Are you sure it's not a lion?
He might well be, actually, thinking about it. Bloody hell. I mean, that time he got his paw stuck in the hinge on the washer door. So I was trying to free him, and in the process he bit my bloody finger and punctured the tendon, which was lovely. But then obviously this has happened today, and yeah, it just looks really nasty now.
Mark, sorry to interrupt. What's your? I can't find it.
Yeah,
What's your Twitter handle?
It's Red the Linux. REDTHELINUS.
Hang on.
So, Mark,
I'll find it now.
How deep do you think it is? I mean, these are the obvious questions. How big is it? How deep is it?
It bled quite a bit when it first happened. It took me about 10 minutes to get it to stop bleeding. I'm not entirely certain how deep it is. I mean, it looks about an inch across, like from top to bottom, because it kind of goes from the top down towards, you know what I mean, into the eyelid, if you know what I mean.
Okay. I mean, I think what I'd be tempted to do...
Oh, yeah, I've got it. Here you go. Okay. Blimey, that doesn't look nice.
Right, let's have a look. No. Sorry.
Got it?
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing that you want to be worried about, Mark, is obviously infection. It's better that it's a claw of a cat, not a tooth, because dogs and cats' mouths are really filthy.
Absolutely.
But I think, have you got any antiseptic cream at home that you can put on it?
No, I don't. I did ring my surgery this afternoon, like lunchtime, and explained what had happened. Because the problem I have is, obviously I can't just go straight to A&E because I have a severe balance problem.
Right.
For me to get to A&E, they'd have to send me an ambulance because I need medical assistance. So obviously I don't particularly want to do that. So I spoke to the doctor. the doctor's surgery. She forwarded it through to the GP, and I then got a text from the GP about 20 minutes later, and basically sent me a prescription.
For Fusidine?
No, just some antibiotics. It was... Hang on a second.
What's Fusidine?
Fusidine is an antibiotic cream.
Okay.
Which I would have gone with, but then I don't prescribe antibiotics very often.
Right.
I mean, she sent me... Let's have a look at this here.
Flucloxacillin?
No, coamoxiclav.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that bad? What is that?
It's like bleach. It's the antibiotic version of bleach. So, yeah, I mean, by all means, if she's given it to you, take it. I'd get a good probiotic for your gut.
Yeah, well, this is the thing.
I mean, GPs are not...
a little bit unsure about it, to be honest.
GPs are not even supposed to use coamoxiclav in the community because of the chance of building up resistance. But if you've got it, I mean, by all means, take it. Or get yourself some Savlon down the chemist, look after it for a couple of days. And if you think that there's infection and it's spreading, because it is on your eye, so it's a worry. The question I didn't ask you, Mark, was have you got other medical conditions alongside this?
I suffer from coronary artery spasm, and, well, obviously the balance problem.
But you're not immunosuppressed?
No, nothing like that. I don't have, blood issues like warfarin. I don't have to take warfarin or anything. Blood clotting, I don't have those issues. Obviously, other than that, goes along with the heart thing, blood pressure, really. And that's pretty much it.
I mean, look, if it were me, I would have prescribed you Fusidine ointment to apply topically to it, rather than completely remove your gut microbiome, because obviously every GP is different. And then I would have seen how it, given you the, if the redness starts spreading, if it feels hot, if you've got a temperature, these are all signs that it's actually, becoming much worse, and you should contact us or go to A&E. But if you've got coamoxiclav and you're happy taking it, that will certainly sort it out.
Yeah,
but it won't be infected yet because you only did it this morning, so it's too soon.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure whether I'm happy taking that particular antibiotic, to be honest. It does sound quite strong.
Well, then why not get just an antiseptic from the chemist and just start cleaning it. You could clean it tonight with salt water, or you could ask your GP tomorrow for some Fusidine ointment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that called again?
Fusidine. Fusidine.
All right, Mark.
Oh, hang on, can you just...
Yeah, all right, quickly, because I'm going to go on a break.
I'm terrible here. Can you just spell out again?
Go again.
F for Freddie, Ucidin.
Fusidine. Got it?
Okay, cool, yeah, excellent. Lovely.
All right, mate. Look after yourself. Give us a call
Take
soon.
care.
That's Mark in Lincolnshire, regular caller, actually. Let's go to break. More of your medical inquiries after these messages.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I think I have to read out we've got a competition. You can have a chance of winning Oasis tickets at Wembley this summer. Have a listen.
How'd you fancy winning tickets to the hottest gig of the century? Here at Talk, we're giving you the chance to bag yourself a pair of tickets to Oasis at Wembley this summer. Plus, we're giving away a whopping 10 grand and putting you up for the weekend in a London hotel. All you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 and you're in the draw. Alternatively, you can enter by post. Once again, all you need to do is text the word prize to 83338 or you can enter by post. Good luck.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. Enter by text for £2 plus one standard network charge by 11 p.m. on the 7th of April 2025. Or post your name and number to Oasis Competition, PO Box 3190. Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of April 2025. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
This is a News Broadcasting Network promotion.
Will I be going? Definitely. Maybe. I don't know. See what I did there?
Very good.
That's why I get the big bucks, you see. Right, let's go back to the phones. Talk to Sean in Berkshire. Hello, Sean. Talk to the doctor.
Hello, Sean. How can I help?
Yes, well, I can understand. Can you hear me okay?
I can
we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, what I can't understand is how long I've got to wait for a problem I've got.
Okay.
And the problem is I'm in extreme pain with a sciatic problem.
Yeah.
Sciatica, yeah.
And I've been in pain since November, and I've been told I can't see anybody till July, and it means I'm going to lose my job.
So when you say see somebody, you don't mean a GP, you mean a specialist?
A specialist, yeah.
Okay.
I can explain. You say you can't understand why you have to wait so long. It's 3 letters. NHS. That's the way the NHS rolls, Sean. People don't get treatment for months and months and months, sometimes years.
Actually, 6 months to wait to see a spinal department is actually not that long for some people.
I bet you think it's a long time, don't you, Sean?
I mean, where are you based, Sean?
But what I can't understand is I would like to be able to move forward with it myself and, maybe see specialists myself. I don't mind paying.
Right.
But I'm trying to, because in case I make it worse.
Well, you could see a spinal orthopaedic surgeon privately about your pain.
If you can afford to go private, I guess I shouldn't probably say this, but I think you should. I mean, that's the only way to get very sharpish, quick treatment in this country, I'm afraid, Sean, these days, is to go private.
Sean?
All right.
Sean, can I ask you, what painkillers are you taking?
I've been on morphine. Is it Amamorph? I've been on naproxen. I've been on cocodamol. I don't like them because they just...
Yeah, no.
They make my body feel really bad.
Yeah.
They make me feel like they're doing more damage than what they are good.
How old are you?
I'm getting old. I'm 59.
You think that's old?
Oh, wow. As you get older, I suppose you don't heal as quick, do you?
Well, I know, but my point is that you're a working man, you're actually very young. I consider that young. It's really kind of my age. So I do consider it young.
Yeah. It's incredibly young.
I didn't want to make you feel that way.
No, don't be silly. I don't feel that way. Sean, is the pain going down one or both legs?
It's just going down the right leg.
Down the right leg, okay. And have you had an MRI?
I've had an MRI, and apparently it's the L5F1.
And
degeneration and mild elliptic spondylitis. I can't even pronounce that.
Spondylitis.
Spondylitis.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, what you need is you need some good physio. You need time. And you need some good painkillers. Now, if those painkillers aren't working for you, you could ask your GP to completely change track. There's a painkiller called etoricoxib that my other half, who is a spinal surgeon, tells me works really nicely for back pain.
What's it called again?
Etorocoxib.
I never heard of it. I'll have to write that down if you don't mind.
There you go.
Etorocoxis. I mean,
Etoro. E-T.
Got a pen? Write it down, Sean. She's going to spell it for you.
Well, I'm going to spell kind of because I can't remember it.
Oh, you can't spell it either.
Etorocoxic. It's quite a hard spelling. Etorocoxib.
Etorocoxib.
Do I have to see the doctor? Will probably have to prescribe that for me.
Oh yeah, you won't get that over the counter, no.
And you have to prescribe it with something to protect your tummy too. But that works really, really well. Get some good physio. I mean, I know that maybe you don't want to pay to see a specialist soon because you're probably going to need some what we call spinal caudal injections, which will take the pain away. But a good physio in the interim might be able to help. So even if you pay for a couple of sessions to find out exactly what you should be doing to try and help it, because I can't answer for the wait list. Where do you live?
Well, I stay on my narrowboat in Newbury at the minute.
Okay.
And I have got an address in Frome, but I mainly stay on my boat because I like that lifestyle.
Sure. Yeah, no. The reason I was asking that is I know in London for sure I can actually get people seen quite quickly at our local private hospital under a contract with the NHS, but not everybody has that in their area. It's a postcode lottery, unfortunately.
It's so expensive, though. You know, they want sort of like $5,000 just for an injection. You know.
I know.
Yeah, that's private medicine for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got the money, you can get quick treatment in this country. But if you haven't, you have to wait.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm afraid so.
Oh, well, listen, good luck. See if you can get and try that painkiller and see if it helps.
Yeah, have a go at that one, Sean. All the best. Thanks for calling. That's Sean in Berkshire. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk to a new caller. It says Hiran in Crawley. So stay where you are, Hiran.
When I'm talking to you right now, it's quite heavy air defense battle in Kiev with quite heavy explosions, meaning that Russia continue to attack big Ukrainian cities every night. It is happening non-stop for many, many, many months. So they are attacking us with kamikaze drones. And to remind you, each Russian kamikaze drones is from 60 to 80 kilograms of explosive materials, and drones like that can destroy a private house easily.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
We're going to go to the phones in just a second. I just feel sort of compelled to read this out. It's from Michael. It's to do with this country being insane. He says, why is it that no one can seem to see how stark, raving bonkers this country has become now? And then he goes on to talk about Prime Minister hell-bent on nuclear war, half-witted government that can't see the difference between males and females, ministers who seem determined to destroy this country regarding net zero, the energy situation. Why is it that nobody can seem to see how stark, raving bonkers this country has become now? With you all the way, Michael, but have you been listening to this show at all, or watching it? You know, I do sort of sit here night in, night out going, this is crazy, mad, mad, mad. We can see it. We can see it, and we're very, very worried about it. Don't start accusing us of not having spotted this syndrome. We have spotted. This country has disappeared into an abyss, a deranged abyss of utter insanity that Renee and I were talking about earlier on. But I'm with you, Michael, anyway. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Haven't you spotted the country's a bit mad? Yeah, I had spotted that, yeah. Anyway, I digress. Let's go to a new caller in Crawley. Hiran. Hi, Hiran.
Hello, sir, you all right?
That's an unusual name, Hiran.
Yeah, it's an Indian name.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you got an eye bump. Talk to Dr. Renee.
I told him that in the break.
Okay. You knew and I didn't.
Madam, right?
I'm good. How can I help, Hiran?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because I got this like a bump underneath my eye on the left side, and I woke up yesterday and I got it on the right side now. I don't know if it's a cyst, but it begins with a G.
Begins with a G.
Yeah, GY something. Dios or something is called. I'm not quite sure.
When you say that, is that because you've Dr. Googled or something?
Yeah.
So you don't know that. You just diagnosed yourself.
Are you sure it doesn't start with a C and a CH?
Yeah. It could be a CH.
A chalazion.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? Okay.
A chalazion. So these are usually people get them on the upper eyelid actually, but you can get them on the lower eyelid as well. And they are just a blocked pore, really, a blocked cyst, and they usually get better on their own. The NHS won't do anything about them for 6 months for that reason, because in that time they should get better. But you can help them on their way by doing hot compresses.
That's it.
Several times a day, and then once you've done that for 10 minutes, massaging it to see if you can just open up the cyst, and it may just pop.
Yeah?
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, Hiran, good to talk.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Look after yourself. That's Hiran in Crawley. Another new caller. Got lots of new callers. Love new callers, everyone. Be a new caller. Ring me, 0344499 1000. This is new caller Helen from Cambridgeshire. Hi, Helen. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hi, Helen.
Oh, hi. I'm just calling because my daughter's school are giving the HPV vaccine this week. And I was unsure what to do about it because I've got a little bit sceptical of vaccines lately. And I'm not really sure of the benefits and, what the side effects could be potentially. And I know they also wanted to give it to my son, and we declined it for him.
Yeah, so I'm torn on this one, to be honest with you. And I have actually previously been quite gung-ho about it because the initial data that, it would stop cervical cancer to me seemed like a no-brainer. But I've done lots and lots of research, and in other countries around the world, Australia, for example, they're halving the dose now. So that says to me, why would we not halve it here too? So I'm only part way through my research on this, so I think for me at the moment my jury is out on this one.
Yeah, because I always feel like I don't want to give medicine unless you actually need it and it's going to really make a difference. And I am a bit sceptical even about the government data sometimes on
Sorry to interrupt. Good point. What is the HPV vaccine?
It's the HPV vaccine.
Oh, HPV. I've got HPV.
And HPV, almost all cervical cancers are caused by about 4 variants of HPV.
Okay.
So the idea is that eventually we will wipe out cervical cancer. And to be fair, there's data around the world that looks like that might be happening. The problem with this is, HPV is very, very common, and the group of women that actually get cervical cancer is very, very small compared to the number of women that are exposed. So again, it's about how many people you're having to vaccinate to stop one cancer. But my jury is out on this, so I'm not going to say no or yes, but I think there's a lot of data out there now because it's been around for quite some time, so it's worth looking into. Have a look at Australia and see what they're doing.
Yeah, because it is hard to know to look, because obviously the NHS wants you to have it.
Absolutely.
But then you look on Facebook and then sometimes you don't really know.
I'm not saying don't have it, but I'm thinking, some more research on this one, because I think if there is a half dose that can be given, then why wouldn't you give a half dose? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, have a look into it, Helen. So Australia could be. Check out Australia, apparently. Have a look into it, Helen. Thank you very much for the call with regards to your daughter. That was Helen in Cambridgeshire. By the way, we're going to go to another new call in just a second. I'll take the headline this morning that drove me nuts. Front page of the Daily Mirror. That sort of idiot Matt Hancock, the former Health Secretary, saying, "I'd do it all again."
Yeah, I know.
Matt, what do you mean? Are you mad? Are you mad? Can't you see you screwed it up in spades? And do you know what really annoyed me? He's in the dock at that ludicrous £300,000 a day COVID inquiry that won't look into whether or not lockdowns worked. Mind you, I can answer that for free. They did not. He's using all the cliches they invented.
It's COVID derangement syndrome.
Yeah, but they invented cliches, the politicians during that phase.
Flatten the curve.
And he kept saying, we're saving lives, we're saving lives, we're saving lives. Well, I think if you look in the great scheme of things, it's arguable you didn't save any lives, or the lives you saved are outnumbered by the lives you succeeded in ending by your ludicrous, crap, useless, ineffective policies that drove this country insane and that we are still suffering from right now, right?
Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. Let us never forget that the average age of death from COVID itself was 82, which is the average life expectancy in this country.
And, I always say this, and you've got to be very careful, because I certainly don't want to undermine the importance of the fact that this was a dangerous virus and people died from it. But in terms of viruses, it wasn't a particularly lethal virus. It had a pretty low fatality rate, and yet we treated it like the bubonic plague.
We did, and in so doing, we destroyed our country emotionally, educationally and financially.
Yeah, and when you say emotionally, we recalibrated the psyche of this nation, which is why now we have a generation of people under 25 who don't want to work in their lives. We have people who have become work shy. The furlough scheme that idiot Rishi Sunak kept extending. Oh, if we just pay everybody's wages, it makes us popular. Let's keep extending it. 2 years people didn't work. And then we go, well, we're not going to give you any more money, so you've got to go back to work. How shocking that a load of people said, do you know what, I've lost the taste for work.
I'll get PIP instead.
This was a hard-working country, and frankly, the way that ridiculous government treated the alleged COVID crisis has changed this country. I would say we're turning into a lazy country now.
I would arguably say it's destroyed our health as well in so many ways. So locking people away from all viruses for 2 years has not helped their immune system. What I'm seeing most commonly now in GP is people that are going from one cold to the next cold to the next cold. They're sick for 4 months and they don't understand why. I'd say that virus that was released from the lab in Wuhan has destroyed people's immune system, and the vaccines have done the same. And I think in 20 years' time, when we truly know what these vaccines have done to our immune systems, we might be in for an even bigger shock.
But I'm so annoyed that idiot Hancock standing in the dock, just repeating political cliches. What we were doing was saving lives. No, that was a cliche, a slogan you invented while you were screwing the country up with your ridiculous policies.
And his mistress.
And honestly, we should be so furious about what the political class did to us during that alleged COVID crisis. It was a bad time, but we overreacted to a catastrophic extent, and therein ends the party political broadcast on behalf of Kevin O'Sullivan. We better go back to talk Dr. Renee, hadn't we? Let's talk to Marty. He's in Dis in Norfolk. Hello, Marty.
Hello there.
Hello, Marty.
Nice to talk to you.
By the way, Marty, I've got to tell you, we haven't got too long, a minute and a half or so. Sorry to cut you short, but fire away.
Well, it's just something that I've been meaning to talk about. I lost my brother to suicide 6 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And it's been difficult to talk about it, the reasons why, and it's a difficult subject, but he felt completely vulnerable, married with children because of the family court system. He was afraid of losing everything if his wife left, basically, including his house and his children. So he ended his life.
Do you know what? I think it's a great call, actually, Marty, because I think I say this to people and they look at me like I'm crazy. 12 men a day in the UK commit suicide.
Yeah.
12 a day. That is enormous.
The current day man wants to do the right thing, wants to, marry, provide a good home for the children. We get a few men that are not good, obviously, but he wanted to do the right thing, but he felt like a sitting duck.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, it's difficult to know what else to say, but I do think awareness of how lost men are feeling in so many ways, not just the way you say, but our boys are lost. We saw the Lost Boys report last week. You know, our boys are lost, our men are lost. They're sad, they don't know what their purpose is. They're belittled all of the time because women are fantastic. We should be telling men and women that they're fantastic.
Well, your show has given me the opportunity to speak, and I really appreciate it.
Well, Marty, it's good to talk to you. Have you got Netflix by any chance?
Yeah.
Have you seen Adolescence yet?
I haven't, no.
Have a look at it. It's worth looking at. It's about the kind of toxic masculinity problem that perhaps we have. Have a look at it. It's very, very good. And I don't say that kind of thing lightly because most things on TV, as far as I'm concerned, are utter crap.
Apart from Kev.
But apart from me. Have a look at that, Marty. Good to talk. All the best, mate. All the best. That's Marty in Dis in Norfolk. That was a nice call.
Good call,
yeah. Good for Marty. Listen, Renee, thank you. Another brilliant surgery. I've got loads of calls. Really sorry to everyone who's phoned up that we can't get around to you, but there are time constraints, and she will be back next week, same time, same place, right here on Talk for Call Dr. Renee, Thursday at 8 p.m. So be there then. When we come back after the break, it's Kinsey Schofield on the latest chapter in the book of Meghan.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the final hour of tonight's Political Asylum. Try and remember the name of your own show, Kev. It does help. It's called The Political Asylum. We've got another 60 sizzling minutes to go. At that point, I will hand over the reins to Andre Walker and Ash. So you don't want to miss that. They'll take you through to 1 a.m. But we have a compelling and packed hour still to come. So stick around. I'll be taking your calls in about 20-25 minutes. 03444991000. I'll read out some of your messages and take more of your calls, and we will play your WhatsApp voice notes. So a packed agenda lies ahead. Now, before we get to any of that, it is time to talk Meghan, time to talk the Royals, and as we always do at this time on a Thursday, and we go over live to the West Coast to talk to the brilliant Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
An eventful week in Sussex.
Sussex
world.
land, it certainly was. Now, listen, we've got some important issues to discuss. Well, this is important, but I think we should start off on this. I accuse the Meghan of being awful about the Queen. Look at this. This is that vile sludge-like dish she made for her kids on St. Patrick's Day on the left. So you got that green sludge, God knows what, and there's two blueberries are supposed to be her eyes, and the kiwi fruit is her mouth, and then that sort of revolting green waffle thing, and then the cream around the top. Anyway, people are saying, frankly, she's taken the mickey out of the Queen, the late great Queen, of course. There she is. This is a disgrace, isn't it, Kinsey? What do you think?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time she took the mickey out of the Queen. I throw it back to the Netflix series where Meghan did the dramatic bow. So I think that I wouldn't put it past her is what I'm trying to say. Perhaps she was dropping that plate off to Archie and Lily going, look, it's your great grandmother.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, so she's catching a lot of flack for this. You know, how dare you take the mickey out of the Queen? How dare you be so disrespectful to the Queen that you turn her into a vile-looking breakfast or whatever it's supposed to be? To be fair, you know, it's not like me to be fair, as you know, Kinsey, but I will be this time. She could be making a meal and say, look, it's your great granny. You know, I mean, it's unlikely, but she could have done that, couldn't she?
Yeah. Look, I know you never met her. Here you go.
Yeah,
you never met her.
This is what she looks like.
Maybe. I mean,
so the kid's going, she looked like that?
I guess if we're going to try to take the high road, then sure, she could have been like, I'd like to introduce you to.
Yeah.
But no, either way, I cackle at the idea that perhaps something like that was presented to Ted Sarandos when she pitched the idea of With Love Meghan, and somebody was like, let's do it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it does look a bit like the Queen, I've got to say, but perhaps we should park that. Everybody, you know, what do you think? Was that disrespectful to the Queen? Was that the Queen? There are similarities, I've got to say. A lot of action on social media about it. So I'll leave that hanging in the air. Let's talk about something that's slightly more important, perhaps. Now, the streaming giant Netflix, the boss, the chief executive, the numero uno supremo of that massive organisation, very important man, called Ted Sarandos, as you said, he correctly has stated it in response to With Love Meghan, which I think we can, with justification, say has been a bit of a flop. Yeah, it hasn't done well numerically around the world, and has become the target for international derision. Everybody laughing about it. It's a laughing stock. It really is. But Ted Sarandos, he says, well, he correctly states, look, people are fascinated with Meghan Markle. And he goes on to sort of say that she's underestimated in terms of this popularity and so on and so forth. Now, I've got a great deal of respect for Ted Sarandos. You know, he's running an incredibly successful company. But I think I can't help feeling this is just another example of a senior Netflix person desperately trying to justify the fact that they spaffed $100 million on a useless couple who didn't really provide them with very much at all. They're still trying to justify the fact that they took $100 million and gave it to the gruesome twosome, and it's ended up Meghan Markle giving us advice on how to make ice cubes and beeswax candles. I think secretly Ted isn't that pleased, but they have to put a brave face on it, right?
You said this weeks ago when another Netflix suit said...
Bella Bajaria, I think, Chief Content Officer, yeah.
Good Lord, that's a good memory. I'm impressed with you. You said that a few weeks ago when we were discussing Netflix speaking out, saying that they were excited about what was to come for Netflix. You said, look, they have to do this. It would be ridiculous for them not to do this. For them to go out and talk negatively about Meghan Markle, other celebrities would hesitate to work with them in the future, thinking that they looked like they were disloyal. Legally, it might get them in some sort of trouble with Harry and Meghan, knowing that there is an existing contract between these two entities. Maybe in the contract, they're not allowed to speak negatively about one or the other. This is Ted trying to protect his butt, trying to protect his brand, trying to protect his investors' feelings and confidence in the company. And he is right. People are fascinated by Meghan Markle because we've never seen somebody screw up so badly before and mess something up so badly before, repeatedly. So when I read this, I immediately thought of you because you said, look, this is just what you have to do. When you have an important position in a company, you have to stand behind your decisions, and you have to say, look, we have confidence in this choice we made. Otherwise, people will start to question your decisions, and publicly, he doesn't want that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah, exactly. So in an interview with Variety magazine, you know, one of the Hollywood Bibles, show business Bibles out there in Los Angeles, you've got Variety and Hollywood Reporter, the two publications of the American entertainment industry. So Ted has spoken out to them, and he says that Meghan Markle, by the way, Ted, it's Meghan Sussex now. It's Meghan Sussex. What a mistake. Anyway, he says Meghan Markle is underestimated and overly dismissed as a cultural influencer. You're exactly right, Kinsey. You and I, we can't sit here and say she's not fascinating. I do find her fascinating. I find the gruesome twosome fascinating. That doesn't mean I like them. And it doesn't.
And just because I go and buy a blanket I saw in a Netflix series she was in, or a pair of shoes that she might have worn, that doesn't make her a cultural influencer. Cultural influencer has a little bit more depth than what she is. She's an influencer, and you know, I don't think that makes good television always. That because something works online or somebody wants to buy the things you wear, that does not automatically make good television. You've been a TV critic in your past life. I mean, you know, it's to be a good TV personality, she's been an actress, a successful actress, and I'm not saying that she couldn't do that again, but to be a raw, good television personality, it takes more than looking good in something and somebody going and buying it because you looked good in something.
Indeed. And I think that Ted, he's not a foolish man. He knows what he's doing here. But if you take him at his word, he is confusing being well known and being fascinating with popularity. So your products, your content, the things you want to sell, you'll only be able to do that if you're popular. So she's well known, but the question is she popular? And when you see the response she gets on TikTok in particular, I mean, it's almost 100% negative. I mean, young people seem to despise her. They really don't like her. And even on the other social media, you know, Instagram, Facebook, X, she gets mainly negative responses. So people are interested in her. They love to talk about her. I like talking about her. You do too. Doesn't mean she's actually popular in terms of, you know, being a much loved celebrity. She's this kind of interesting character. I'm basing that is not enough to launch successful TV series and, dare I say it, to sell products, if she ever gets to sell any products. So I think Ted is making the best of a bad job. Netflix are definitely going to not renew this $100 million contract. And after that, you know, maybe, just maybe, they might make the odd project with her. As you rightly said the other day, Kinsey, I think we said it on your excellent podcast, Recollections May Vary, and I think we said it on my show earlier in the week, that we being cynical, knowing about the entertainment industry, we suspect that Netflix are hanging on in there, so they're in pole position and ready to roll if and when the Sussexes get divorced. Meghan's story, that will be an international blockbuster.
Well, I suspect, and I'd like your opinion on this, that Meghan or her team reached out to Netflix and said, we need some support because we're being buried. We need you to find an opportunity to say, Meghan's winning, Meghan's going to be a winner for us, and we stand behind her, because there are people like you and I that weekly cover the idea of Netflix cutting ties, that cover the idea of the Netflix Meghan divorce special. And, you know, when you have Ted go out there on a limb for Meghan, then the narrative, the headlines shift. And now all the headlines in my inbox that are royal related are Netflix sticks with Meghan, Netflix, you know, Netflix stays with Meghan, or Netflix defends Meghan. And so it changes the story, and it changes the trajectory of the story. And now we are talking less about Netflix cutting them off because there's new content surrounding their support for Meghan, or we're talking less about a potential divorce deal because Ted has said that she is fascinating, and we're all going to, one day we're all going to love her, one day it's all going to work, but the clock is ticking. We're patiently waiting for that. But I think that she or her team potentially reached out to Netflix and said, the silence doesn't help us.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, they're rallying, I think, more to their own support than her. That's why they're giving these interviews, to say, we didn't waste $100 million. Yes, you did. Anyway, here is Ted's response. Ted Sarandos, the chief executive of Netflix, when asked the, I was about to say $64,000 question, but it's the $100 million question, is it? Will Netflix be renewing the deal? And he said, I don't want to comment on anyone's renewals. In general. He was also asked would they renew their deal with the Obamas, another disaster. He said, I don't want to comment on anyone's renewals. In general, the ones that we've had are bespoke and rationalised around output. I think of them as Chauverall deals. What's he talking about? What is he talking about?
He talks, I don't know if you've noticed this, but he talks very much in, how do I describe this? Insider, you know, like industry speak, but also the tech world. Yeah. So it's a mix between Hollywood and technology that he throws things out there. And he talked one time in this article about the way that they're going to partner with Meghan and with the retail arm. And how did he word this? It was something about like,
I've got it.
We're a passive
Yeah,
partner.
I've got it here. I've got it right here.
Yeah, we're a passive partner in Meghan's company, and it's a big discovery model for us. Well, I had to go look up discovery model because I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And basically, discovery model means we listen to feedback and we adjust as we go, and we don't make any big investments or any big decisions. Everything's moving in real time based on the feedback from the viewer. And to that, I'd say, then you are not listening to the viewer, because the viewer has rejected this project and you are going to force season 2 down our throats, you know? So that's not necessarily true, the way that he's wording this. And I'm wondering if he's using this kind of not familiar to the normal person lingo to try to make it sound like, don't worry, I got this. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, we're a positive partner in Meghan's company, and it's a big discovery model for us right now. Well, I'll tell you what they're going to discover. Well, they already will have discovered. The problem with her company is it's not selling anything because, A, she forgot to sign the trademark application form. Sign the form, Meghan. Come on. That is pretty basic stuff. And B, once again, she had this trouble with American Riviera Orchard. She said, I want to sell a bunch of stuff. And they go, well, what are you going to sell? Exactly what is it? So she's done it again. She's been too vague about the spoons that she wants to sell and the jams and all that. And the trademark organisation, the trademark people are just saying, no, we need more details. So actually right now, as ever, doesn't have a trademark and isn't allowed to trade.
Look, here's all I have to say. When you spend all damn day taking a pencil across a piece of paper to write straight lines so that you can do your calligraphy across your dinner menu, and then go back and erase the pencil that you used across the paper, when that is the type of thing you are putting your effort into, Meghan Markle, you might be a little distracted when it comes to putting your autograph on your trademark paperwork. Maybe focus your attention on some of the things that matter. And we're talking about how, just rejected she's been, and how there's a distaste for her. And I don't know if you saw the story today about how she reached out to an influencer. The handle is Not Skinny, Not Fat. And the influencer posted, Meghan, I'm scared, with a screenshot of Meghan and her new show. Yeah. So Meghan sent her a handwritten note that said, don't be scared. The fun is just beginning. M, with of course a royal crest on the top or whatever. and
You're not royal. You're not royal.
But it just reeks of desperation. Why are you so desperate? Also, I thought it was funny because this same influencer recently had Ryan Reynolds on her podcast and has been defending Blake Lively. So it's like Meghan's purposely going towards the bad girls club. Like, oh, this person, if they're defending Blake Lively, surely to God they'll defend me. She loves bullies. But I do think that you're seeing this real desperation there, because now the influencer is saying, oh my God, I love Meghan Markle, I'll love her forever, for sending me this letter. And it's like, oh my, well, that's a cheap date.
Indeed. Now, meanwhile, old Ginger Nuts, that husband of hers, there's an article in today's Daily Mail over here in Britain, basically saying, oh, this is, the visa application situation is brilliant news for Harry. I believe he's turned the corner and everything. There it is. There's the visa application that was released by a Washington court by a judge called Carl Nichols. He ordered the Department of Homeland Security to release the details of Harry's visa application to live in America, and that was it. They've redacted virtually everything, covered everything in big black lines, big black bars, to the point where literally nothing has been revealed. So the judge said, this needs to be made transparent, public, because that's the American way, and the Department of Homeland Security, for some reason, is protecting this guy. Just to quickly recap what this story's about. the Heritage Foundation think tank in Washington, run by a great guy called Niall Gardner, who's an American citizen but sounds terribly, terribly posh and British, so he's a dual citizen guy. They are pursuing this legal battle to get to see Harry's visa application to live in America, because he subsequently went on to boast in his book, "Hey, I've done coke and cannabis, magic mushrooms, I love drugs, I do." And the Heritage Foundation said, well, wait a minute, you know, did you admit to this on your visa application form? We need to know this. Because if you put no, you've never taken illegal drugs, then you've lied.
That's a felony.
And that is a major federal offence for which you'd probably be deported. You'd certainly be in big trouble. Or you wrote no, or you admitted to your drug use. You wrote, yeah, I'm a big drug user, I am. In which case, why would he be allowed into the country? You know, if I put on my visa...
But we have to be honest. Only one of those things is illegal. The other one is not illegal. Special privilege is not illegal. But lying is illegal.
No, but the question would remain, why did he get... If he admitted to his drug use, why did he get special treatment? That's not the American way. He's just some
it's not
bloody
the American
British...
way, but I would argue that's none of my business. What is my business is if you lied to get here and you're coming into my country and you're trying to change our laws and you're being disrespectful and critical of my country, which is what Prince Harry's doing, calling our First Amendment bonkers, yada, yada, yada. But if he got special privilege, a lot of people...
That is your business, Kinsey, for this reason. You're an American citizen, and I think it's my business as well, but particularly in America, that means that some British aristocrat got special treatment, different treatment to other people who fill in their visa application forms, and that is not the American way. All men are equal in America, but they didn't treat him equally.
I think that I might be a little bit like, I don't know. I've accepted the fact that there's special privilege. I look at O.J. Simpson.
But it's not right. It's not right.
It's not right, but I've accepted that not everything is fair.
Were you just comparing Harry to O.J. Simpson then?
Somebody... But I think that I've accepted that, you know, people that are famous or that have more money than other people, they're going to have more opportunities.
Yeah. I'm with you, Kinsey. Absolutely. Of course, that's the real world. That's the way of the world. But the Heritage Foundation, the point of this conversation is that the Heritage Foundation are going to appeal, and they're going to appeal, and they're going to appeal. They're going to carry on with this case because I think they've got a case. It's un-American to keep this British aristocrat's visa application secret. It's un-American.
The Heritage Foundation has filed a second lawsuit to obtain Prince Harry's immigration papers and to find out whether he lied, specifically whether he lied. And they said yesterday, or was it, they said over the last 48 hours.
Yeah, well, we had Niall Gardner on the show on Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, the day after you came on, and he confirmed, that they're carrying on with this case, and he thinks they're going to win. But my basic question to you, Kinsey, is why do you think that, because Trump doesn't care. Trump said, put it out there, I don't give a damn. He said, I won't deport him because he's got enough trouble with that terrible wife of his. But why do you think it is that the Department of Homeland Security, America's Department of Homeland Security, has decided to protect this strange British aristocrat? Why are they doing that?
And I think it could boil down to politics. We know what side of the aisle Harry and Meghan are on.
Yep.
But the Heritage Foundation says they're not, the Department of Homeland Security is not just keeping information from us, from the Heritage Foundation, but they're keeping information from the judge.
Well, that's the point.
And I think that that's where it gets really sinister. That they would be that based on what the Heritage Foundation has seen, they feel like the judge doesn't even have the full story, and that's what makes you really start to ask questions, how, you know, about the contacts that Harry and Meghan potentially have, and why, because I don't know, I don't feel like it's a higher up that's making this decision. Potentially.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Someone down the line, the Department of Homeland Security hasn't quite noticed that Biden isn't in charge anymore. That Democrat disaster party has left the building. It's Donald Trump now, and Donald Trump has a very different man to Joe Biden, and Donald Trump does not have a deferential bone in his body, so he doesn't give a damn. It's as if the Homeland Security Department hasn't quite noticed that there's a new sheriff in town, and they're still acting like the Democrats are in power. And of course Joe Biden, you know, was a real kind of forelock toucher when it came to the royals. So I do think it's going to be interesting going forward that the Heritage Foundation are continuing with their case. I reckon in the end they will win. So all these stories about, oh, Harry won that, all these, he's home and dry. I don't think he is. Do you?
No, I don't. And I also think that Donald Trump likely knows the truth, and he's a talker. So if somebody's in his sphere and a little bit of curious, you might, or on the golf course, you might get it out of him.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, Donald, if you're watching, we need to know.
Give us a call.
Did he say no to drugs, or did he say yes to drugs? That is the question. And on that bombshell, Kinsey, we better go. But great to talk to you as always. You'll be back on Monday. Kinsey Schofield, our royal commentator over there on the West Coast. I've gone on too long, as is my wont. We'll go to break now. When we come back, your calls, your messages, and your WhatsApp voice notes. So lots still to come. You better stick around.
When I'm talking to you right now, it's quite heavy air defense battle in Kyiv with quite heavy explosions, meaning that Russia continue to attack big Ukrainian cities every night. It is happening non-stop for many months. So they are attacking us with kamikaze drones, and to remind you, each Russian kamikaze drones is from 60 to 80 kilograms of explosive materials, and drones like that can destroy a private house easily.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on On your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I've got a few messages I'm going to read out before we go to the phones. This is from Martin. He said, Meghan is an effluencer, not an influencer. And Mark Selby says, or is that Mark in Selby? Anyway, Mark with a C says, Mr. Netflix is missing a trick. If he made a fly-on-the-wall documentary of production meetings, either with or without Harry and Meghan at Netflix HQ, that would be TV gold. Tell me I am wrong. You're not wrong, Mark. It's a very good idea, but I'll believe it when I see it. And Toz says... I hope no one has Googled blue waffle. Geez, what a beep. And Martin said, I never thought I'd hear someone say green waffle on the radio. Get a lot of green waffle here on Talk. No, seriously. What else we got here? Yeah, so I'll read some more messages in just a little while. Let's go to the phones. Talk to my friend Mark in Watford. Hi, Mark. What would you like to say, mate?
Evening, Kevin. This gender nonsense.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
It's out of control, isn't it?
Ridiculous. Are we going to live in a country now where we declassify rape because of trans rights?
Yeah. We're going to do... Look, we now learned today, I mean, we kind of knew it anyway, but now there's a serious report warning the government to stop recording fiction as opposed to fact. In other words, got blokes, in dresses, who call themselves trans women, writing down that they're female and us going, oh, that's fine. Well, it's not, because it's not accurate. So if you become a country that enshrines, what people want, fantasies, then you're a country in big, big trouble, wouldn't you say?
I'd say that, and I'd say that you're actually being extremely disrespectful and insulting to women and women.
Yeah, you're right as well, Mark. You're absolutely. It's sexist. It's sexist. This kind of eradication of women. That in the NHS, mothers are called people who are pregnant, and people who have babies, people with cervixes, people who menstruate. No, they're called women. They're called females. It's sexist to deprive them of the right of being called what they are, just because we're a bit scared of a few noisy trans activists. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Criminals, Mark, just allowed to go tell the police, I'm a woman. And they write down, you're a woman, when it's a bloke who's a rapist. And I think right off the bat, we have to make it illegal. We have to stop this in courts. No more of this nonsense. You hear it all the time. You read it in the papers that she attacked, it's a rapist, she attacked her with her penis. She attacked her victim with her penis. No. He attacked his victim with his penis. And it doesn't matter that he wears a dress and identifies as a woman. He's a rapist. This is just absurd. Why are we kowtowing to these people?
Well, what amazes me is when you see the police and they keep a straight face when they say it. The she attacked with a penis.
I know.
The straight faceness of it. And what it is the fear of upsetting people. It's the fear of offence. Of
upsetting a very small amount of people, Mark. A very small amount of people. And I think we should, in these circumstances, you should think about the welfare of the vast majority. This whole country is being altered, is being made mad on the altar of trying to appease a noisy, tiny minority of trans activists. There's 262,000 trans people in the country. There's 70 million people live here. Now, all 262,000 of those trans people, they're not the noisy ones. It's just a very small percentage of that 262,000 make a lot of noise, and they've completely changed this country. We've got a government that's absolutely crap scared of them. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Madness and insanity is engulfing this country, Mark. Good call as always, mate. Keep on tweeting. Good to talk. Mark in Watford. Let's go to a break. We'll take some more calls afterwards.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I like this. This is from Toz. He says, Kev for Prime Minister and the rest of Talk TV for his cabinet. That's all, really. Toz is actually called Vic. Well, Vic, hey, you know, I think it may be time for me to step up to the breach. I'll tell you one thing, I'll do a better job than Keir Starmer, but then again, my dog would do a better job than Keir Starmer. Actually, my dog would probably do a better job than me as well. But seriously, we could do with a new Prime Minister. Not necessarily me, but we certainly could do with someone. Honestly, it's a joke. Right, let's go back to the phones and talk to... I'll tell you what, let's go to one of my favourite callers, always good, Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina.
Good evening, Kevin. Well, I would love you to be the Prime Minister. All I want to say is we are actually in an oubliette of insanity. This poor guy, this military veteran, you know, governing bodies are preempting problems before they've arisen and penalising people for it. You know, the sacking of this poor guy because of this so-called Islamophobic text is going to have an adverse effect on Muslim communities because there is, I know because I've seen it, a severe resentment by the populace because they are prioritising the Muslim community over the people of the UK, and it's not going down well. Yeah. Preferential treatment can be seen.
It's two-tier, Georgina. It's two-tier. What happened to poor Gary Costin is an example of the two-tier mania, madness that has consumed this country. If Gary had put in his WhatsApp group, and by the way, it's a private WhatsApp group with a few of his mates at work, so he still doesn't know who ratted on him, who lied about him, by the way. If he'd have put on that WhatsApp group, oh, these bloody Christians. I mean, they're causing such a problem down where we live, or something like that.
Yeah.
He would not have been sacked.
Not at all. But isn't this the norm with Texas? Didn't the Labour government themselves, a Labour MP, do that? Is it one rule for them and another rule for us?
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. But you know, criticising Islam or Muslims has become, you know, taboo. It's absolutely not allowed in this country anymore. And Gary didn't do anything wrong. The whistleblower lied about him and said that he'd said something about, you know, these Muslims are trying to take over our country. He didn't say that at all. And yet the company went, right, you're fired.
Well, the government needs to hang its head in shame. This man has put life and limb on the line to help Muslims.
Yeah.
So, you know, to do this to him is an absolute... They couldn't have made him feel any more unwelcome if they just spat in his face. Another thing I wanted to say to you as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the trans community and everything that's going on at the moment. And, you know, Mother's Day is coming up very soon. I mean, I lost my mum last year and I'm still not over the loss of my mum.
Right.
But, you know, Mother's Day is coming up and I've got children. Are we going to have to say people who identify as Mother's Day?
No, yeah, people... hang on, no, it would be people who get pregnant day.
Oh,
that's
right,
what it... People with a cervix day. That's what it'll be.
That's a good one. But
You're right.
I am going to identify now. I'm coming out on talkTV. I am going to identify as Keir Starmer's boss, and I'm going to sack him.
But hey, we're right behind you in that endeavour, Georgina, 100%. But yeah, this is... Gary is the victim of a two-tier system. And, you know, I don't want to... You know, I've got nothing against Muslims. Good luck to them. There's 4 million that live in this country. Vast majority of them, just like the rest of us. Most people are the same, Georgina. They're just trying to make a living. They're trying to get by. They're trying to put food on the kids' tables, keep a roof over their heads, and maybe go on holiday a couple of times a year. That's it. That's what most people, and Muslims are the same as the rest of us. But, of course, there is this caucus of extremists who shout and scream, and the entire rest of the country has become terrified of them. The government is terrified of them. Companies are terrified of them. And that is why poor Gary Costin got the sack.
Well, that's disgraceful. They should hang their heads in shame, and I am behind Gary, and I hope he gets a public apology from the government because he deserves one.
He certainly does. Georgina, what a great call, but then again, all your calls are great. Thank you for ringing. Georgina in London. Let's go to break. When we come back, we've got to David in London.
The original plan was to destroy Ukraine. But after more than 3 years, Ukraine is still alive, and not just alive. Putin can do nothing with us. Nothing at all. He lost almost 800,000 people killed and injured in Ukraine. He lost not less than 60-70% of all Soviet military warehouses, which was the main military power of Russian Federation. And after all these losses, definitely he's trying to push harder and harder because he sees the weaknesses of the West.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Great text from Richard Killen. Hi, Kev. I feel like we have lost our country to the minorities while the rest of us stand around with our mouths open in disbelief. Talking of the trans woke agenda is just bonkers. Identify as a cat for all I care, but if you have a penis, you are a man. If you want to be a female cat, go for it. But in the real world, you are a man. It's just, well, I've lost it now. Great. What happened to that? Oh, I've got this thing and it just suddenly, yeah, here we are. Yeah, where was I? Identify as a cat for all I care, but if you have a penis, you are a man. If you want to be a female cat, go for it. But in the real world, you are a man who probably needs some help. You're right. It would be funny if it wasn't so serious and if it wasn't happening. What a time. Richard sums it up. It sums it up. All of this nonsense, it's consuming us. It's consuming us. When did this country become quite so insane? Honestly. Right, let's don't forget to Andre or Ash. It's usually Ash comes in to tell you what he's got lined up for you tonight. But it'll be one of them anyway. You have been warned. So let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to David in London. Hello, David.
Hi, Kevin. Well done for staying sane, by the way.
I mean, I'm clinging on by my fingernails, David. What would you like to say?
Kevin, it's about the £525,000 job vacancy.
Yeah. You applying?
Yeah. Kevin, if this is an example of the green economy creating well-paid jobs, then Miliband is madder than I thought.
Well, he is mad. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But this is this GB News company. Nobody can work out what it's supposed to be or what it's supposed to do. I think I'm right in saying as of now, it has absolutely no employees whatsoever. Although I think Miliband says, oh, in the future, we'll have jobs for 650,000 people or some nonsense like that. Difficult to envisage that coming about, considering no one knows what this company is. It's not an energy company. We can't buy your energy from it, so what the hell is it? Anyway, yeah, as you say, the boss, they're advertising now for the chief executive of GB Energy, £525,000 a year. That's your money, David. That's my money. And I think we've got to tell this government, will you stop doing this? Stop wasting our money. It's not your money. It's unbelievable, don't you think?
Kevin, the only thing that's going green is the wallets of the people in the green industry being paid by the taxpayer. And Kevin, even if he's eventually sacked, the economy, the enormous damage that's going to be caused to our environment. And as I said to you before, infrasound and wind shadows, people need to know about this stuff. It makes it so stressful for people, animals and sea life that live near these things.
Yeah, Donald Trump, I'm with him on it. Donald Trump's, one of his main objections to windmills, these vast windmills, is that he calls them bird blenders. Yes. I mean, beautiful birds, eagles, things like that, are just getting obliterated in these vast blades that go round and round and round. So, as you say, really bad for wildlife, and I don't think they're particularly good looking, to say the least. I hate the way they look when you look out to sea. So we're sort of vandalising our land, our green and beautiful land, with all these hideous solar panels and windmills, killing all the wildlife and not producing enough power to fuel the country. So really, really good, and also not creating any jobs. So Ed Miliband is trying to sell us a massive, great lie, a virtue signalling lie, and I ain't buying it, you ain't buying it, and an increasing number of people are not buying it. I suspect Keir Starmer's not buying it anyway, which is why I think Ed Miliband is an endangered species and won't be around too much longer. He's costing this country too much money, he's crashing the economy, and we have the highest energy bills in the country. His tenure as net zero secretary is untenable, and we shouldn't be paying the boss of this mysterious, pathetic company, GB Energy, £525,000 a year. It's a disgrace, David. Good call. Thank you for ringing. Let's go back to the phones and talk to new caller. Love a new caller. Amanda from London again. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
What would you like to say?
I bloody forgot now after
you want to say
yeah,
I've got you can call again, genuinely. I've got here a little minorities are put above British people.
Yeah, I'm bloody sick of it. Very sick of it. I'm sick of being at the bottom of the scale, and I've got a bloody good friend that is homeless and all that, and she's being not looked at all of her situation. No one's taken any notice at all. And poor little Cash, she's on my sofa 6 months.
Well, look, were you listening? Sorry to interrupt, Amanda. Were you watching or listening to the show earlier on when we had
I watch it all
Gary?
Day long.
Well, so we had Gary Costin on. You know, that military veteran who's been deporting dangerous criminals. This is what goes on because he was accused of Islamophobia unfairly, unjustly. He was sacked immediately. Now, it's because he was perceived to have been nasty about Muslims. If he'd have said something nasty about Christians, he'd have been as safe as houses. It's two-tier. It's two-tier.
It gets on my bloody tits, mate. It really does. It really does. I swear at the bleeding telly all the time. I have it on from morning from 6 in the morning till right late at night. Every day we have it on.
I do too, Amanda. I sit there when I'm at home swearing away as well.
I throw cakes at the telly and everything.
Throw bricks at the telly. I don't blame you. Well, listen, Amanda, you got to come on again. You call me again. Maybe cut out a few of the bloodies and the bleedings and all that. But that was fun. It was really good to talk to you. Please, I mean it. Call me again because I like you. Amanda there in London. I like Amanda. Probably shouldn't, we're not supposed to have those words on the TV or the radio, are you? But hey-ho, it's an adult show and it's late at night. Let's talk to Frank. He's in Bristol. Hello, Frank.
Hello, Kevin. If you remember a few weeks ago, I spoke to you about getting into trouble over some VAT.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, now, during that period, they sent me to a new place. As I got out of the van in the different place, there's two men walking through with miniskirts, fishnets, and high heels on.
Blokes,
yeah, walking through. So anyway, a little bit of time goes on, and I'm sat there twiddling my thumbs. So I went and got an app, which is a bit of paper where you fill out a request, and I presented it to them. And what the app said was, on a Monday and Tuesday, I'm a man. On a Wednesday and Thursday, I identify as a woman, so I want to be moved to Eastwood Park Women's Prison.
Right.
And on the weekends, I identify as a giraffe, so I want to be moved to Bristol Zoo. You know, the stupidity of that, the really stupidity of that. I was only doing it to torment them because I was bored. But
I bet they took it seriously. They're probably finding you a cage right now in the zoo, right? Yeah.
They had me in there. They got me in their office and wanted to know what I meant by I'm a giraffe. I said, well, take a look at my collar size.
Yeah. Can't you say I've got a long neck, you know?
I identify as giraffe. I said, I've been born into the wrong body.
Frank, it's just we as I keep saying, this country is disappearing into an abyss of insanity, and I think what you did is more of us should do this. We should highlight how mad things have become by filling in forms in exactly the way that you did. Frank, I've got to move on, mate, because the show's nearly over. But a really good call, and keep in touch. Frank in Bristol there, and we've got time now to talk to another new caller. Lots of new callers. Love new callers. Keep calling. And then don't be a new caller. Call again after that, so that next time you're a second-time caller, no longer a new caller. But new callers are great. And new caller Nicola from Spain, welcome to the show. What would you like to say, Nicola?
Hi there. I'd just like to say this migrant thing in the UK is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
We moved from the UK to Spain 6 years ago, and we had to go through a huge amount of things, like proving that we could pay
for yourself, you're self-sufficient, etc., etc.
We had to prove that we had X amount of money in the bank. We had to prove income.
I mean, in a way, Nicola, quite rightly. In other words, the Spanish authorities don't want you to become a burden on their nation, and yet we in Britain we allow these migrants to come in their hundreds of thousands, in their millions actually, and we allow them to be a burden on this nation. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely, but what one thing I would point out is if you do any misdemeanor,
You're out.
Get sent home.
Yeah, well, here, as you probably noticed, Nicola, you can be a paedophile, you can be a sex offender, you can be a rapist, even a murderer sometimes. Go to jail. You're a foreigner, and when you come out, we don't even deport you, usually because of your human rights. Spain...
Can I give you just one example?
Please do.
Yeah,
go on.
We had a friend who came over. He wanted to come over and live in Spain because we were living in Spain, and he loved the idea. He had an internet business.
Go on.
And he got involved with a lady who basically accused him of beating her up.
So what? Did he get kicked out of the country?
He was taken to the police station. She was as drunk as a skunk. They took her.
Her story is true.
Word for it.
Yeah.
He had two choices. He either went to jail and to a court case,
or he left the country, right?
He could go to jail for 1 day up to a year, depending, and obviously he couldn't run his business.
So what did he do?
He had 2 weeks to get out of the country, and he went out of the country.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah. So Spain deal with situations in a proper, tough way, and what I wish we did too. Nicola, the show's over. Sorry to cut you off, but please call me again. That was a good conversation. Thank you for ringing. Nicola in Spain. Ash is in the studio.
Yeah, in this country, they throw the woman out of the country.
Yeah, they would.
Give the guy a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, what's coming up on your show?
Well, we got Dr. David Starsky. Remember Starsky and Hutch? Well, he's not a New York cop anymore. He's a professor of British history and sociology.
It's Starkey, isn't it?
That's right,
Starkey,
different man, actually.
Starkey and Hutch.
Yeah, Starkey and Hutch. Matt Stevens talking, all the various stories, social media manager at Reform UK. Anna McGovern's coming on.
Oh, nice.
Lois Perry, former UKIP leader. Good. And Dr. Roger Gewald, yeah. But, 1 in 5 working people of working age are just sitting there watching their plasma.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, that the story, the front page that has really annoyed me today is Matt Hancock, that arrant fool.
That's just annoying
who
in
wrecked the
itself.
country.